listening to the Wildlife at the Crossroads podcast, your online adventure into Southwest Texas College's wildlife management program in Uvalde, Texas.
Okay, so this is our 5th episode, man. Let's try to get this baby rolling.
Yeah, so Happy New Year, everybody, right?
Yeah, Happy New
They're
Year.
already in a couple of weeks in on January.
Couple weeks, January's over. You need to wake
January's
up, bud.
over?
God,
It's still January.
Yeah, but we only have a couple days left. It's going fast, believe me.
It has.
Way too fast.
It has. And so we've got some special guests today, and one of our really close friends, David Rios from Parks and Wildlife. David, you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Well, hello, I'm David Rios, senior level biologist with Parks and Wildlife Department. Office here at the Wildlife Program for about 17 years now.
Yeah. So you've been around quite a while.
Well, the thing about David is, when I was developing the program, one of the dreams I had, I guess to call it a dream, is to have a institution or a program where we had the ability to afford our students an opportunity to visit with other professionals like we do in our U.S. Fish and Wildlife units like in Lubbock, Texas at Texas Tech. And because of my involvement there, I just really wanted to do that. And David has been a cornerstone in that development because our students can have class, come out of class, and maybe not digest all the information that we deliver or you guys deliver, and I can see why. But basically, they'd like to have other questions, and it's nice they could walk down the hallway when David's in his office, and the office is here in our building, and they get to visit with another professional. This one from the Parks and Wildlife, which I think is a extremely beneficial aspect to our program. And so David's been a welcomed individual here and a good friend to everybody, particularly the students.
Yeah, welcome team member.
Yeah,
and
David
then
is part of the team, definitely.
And then the next special guest that we have is one of our own, actually Locke Zaglin scholarship recipient this year, Wyatt Metcalf.
Yes, sir.
And so actually a freshman in the program and has really impressed us with his plant identification skills and plant team. But you want to give a little bit of your background and how you found the program?
Oh, yeah, and I'll spare y'all some of the uglier details. But as far as my introduction to wildlife goes, I started off at a ranch about 7,000 acres north of Hunt, more or less. And really just kind of, developed an attachment to wildlife and enjoyed seeing how they interacted with each other, where, animals would like to live and so on and so forth. And it really, makes you realize that there's a lot more to it than just going out and looking at animals. And there's a lot more nuance than what people would typically assume. And so I decided to come to school here. I've heard it was, one of the best programs you can really get, especially at the price point that you're paying to come to Southwest. And I've been having a great time ever since. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, happy to have you here today. Yeah, we'll talk to you some more about some of the things you're doing over the semester. But yeah, it's been great to have you, and one of our leaders too in the freshman class as well. So very fortunate to have you here. I guess we can go ahead and let's move over and talk to David some more. And David, you want to talk to us about what you do and your kind of a daily or weekly? I know it varies quite a bit, but what are some of the things that you do?
What do we do at Parks and Wildlife Department? So our district biologists, we spend a lot of time in the field working with our local landowners, pretty much on a county level now. We generally have a biologist in every county, and our job is to go out there, develop relationships with those landowners, and help them develop wildlife management plans for their property. As you're aware, most of our state is privately owned, but we are an agency that is here to manage wildlife for the state, the wildlife resources of the state. In order to do that, we need to develop those relationships with the landowners, and hopefully offer them some guidance that they could move forward with and implement on their properties.
Yeah. And so David has been a big partner in the program. He does a lot of activities with our students, and
I wear a few different hats.
Yeah. He's kind of meshed in, and I think that's from the atmosphere that Bob created early on whenever he established David in the program, but having him officed in the program. But David, from your viewpoint, what have you liked being associated with us, like having an office with us? Did you enjoy having that interaction with students?
So yes, a lot of our biologists with Parks and Wildlife Department office out of their homes.
Yeah.
Those of us that can find an opportunity like this to have a more of a public office somewhere, we take advantage of that opportunity, and then that allows us to become more kind of integrated into the community,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been a real important aspect of the job for me. Working out of the college, working with the students, that has all been very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a large part of why I've stayed so long. I think I'm on year 17 or 18 now, and I think that's been a large part of it.
I guess you didn't get my note of eviction.
Oh,
Yeah, but
It's
anyhow,
coming in the mail, huh?
yeah. A couple things I want to mention about David is one is he is a senior biologist, so we may have biologists in every county, but he's oversees a bunch of them, and he has a lot of responsibilities. And what I'm alluding to is the fact that he's preoccupied. His time is already taken when he gets up in the morning. He's scheduled out, and so it's really nice to have him to forward some of his privileged, precious spare time catering to our students. I mean, he teaches classes. He and I back to back taught hunter education courses over the years, and I'll let him talk about that here shortly. But we also would teach. We're both official scorers for the Boone Crockett Club, so we also taught the students how to score deer officially based on the Boone Crockett scoring procedures. And so with David, it was like really it was smooth sailing, simply because we complimented each other throughout the time we've had the privilege of sharing together. And now he's with Dean and Daniel, and even though he has a little problems with these youngsters because they are a little young, but that's okay. They're doing good. And he's just a welcome sight. But he also does other things like taking kids out. I mean, he could call up Dean or Daniel anytime or just say, hey, guys, I need 2, 3, 4 guys tonight for spotlight counts, conducting spotlight counts. But before I get into all that, I just wanted to outlay a lot of the things that David does and let him take it from there on some of the more enjoyable things that he likes to do with students.
yes. So as you mentioned, Bob, the spotlight surveys are always enjoyable. We enjoy working with young aspiring biologists and land managers, and spotlight surveys are one good way to get them out there. Also, it allows for some of our state resources to stay home, right? So if we get a student to come out on that spotlight survey, then a biologist gets to stay home with their family that night, and we don't have to charge the state for those hours. So it's mutually beneficial. But I really do enjoy getting out there in the field with the students, kind of showing them the ropes, if you will. We also trap doves. So we band white-winged doves each year, do a mark and recapture study, and the students have participated in that as well, and that's pretty enjoyable because you actually get to catch and handle those animals, put the bands on them, record data.
Yeah, and the cool thing about having David in house is whenever something interesting happens in our area, he's like a black bear, a mountain lion, sighting, or even being run over on the highway. David's one of the first ones to hear about it, being a state biologist.
Yep.
And so that's a chance for our students to kind of tag along, or even some of us on some of those activities.
Well, there's been several instances that we've had bears quite close to where we reside here as a college. What about, cover a couple of those activities of where you had to remove bears from a town or whatever?
Oh, yes. Well, there's one that you know very well, Bob, because you came along as my photographer on that one.
Yeah.
We had a large sow black bear that had been snared in a fence with a cable snare. Border Patrol had seen it from their helicopter and called it in, reported it to us, and so we went in to get the snare off of the bear and release it. Bob came along with his camera, took some really good photographs of the whole ordeal, and we were able to dart that bear, put it under, get the snare off of it, and then release it back into the wild unharmed. It was a good deal.
That's
Big
pretty
old
cool.
female. And then you had another instance that really I hear about it all the time. Everybody's asking me questions. Where was I? Why wasn't I with Rios? And I was out of town. I was in a helicopter at the time.
Yeah.
Deer. But tell them about the most recent bear.
Oh yes, more recently we had turned out to be an older male bear. He was a little larger and heavier, older than I thought he was. At first glance, he seemed younger. Turned out he was just very, very thin, which is probably why he'd come in close to town. And he wound up on a local ranch in their barn, feeding on their sacked feed. When I arrived, it was on top of the trailer, literally just shoveling Milo into its mouth, laying there on top of the trailer. And so that's a problem when we have a bear in somebody's barn like that. And so we had to haze that bear, meaning we had to scare it away. And so we used loud noises and things to haze the bear, get it off the property. And we were able to do it that night, get it off the property, out of the barn.
Things is that just like blanks, or what are you creating?
Yeah, so we have bangers and screamers. So they do what they sound like, right? One makes a boom and one makes a screech. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a college party.
Yeah. So a lot like fireworks, we can fire those up over their heads and things, or above them to get them out of trees and keep pushing them. And then we also use things like paintballs. We'll use paintball guns to shoot paintballs at them and run them off.
And so the bears, they are increasing, but so the lion. But we haven't had much. I don't even think you've had much contact with bear entries into the picture.
Bear entries into what?
Excuse me, lions.
Lions.
Yeah.
It's been pretty quiet for mountain lions this past year.
We've had them killed just north of us, 20 miles, 30 miles.
Yeah. The year prior
on the highway,
there was 4 or 5 mountain lions that we handled.
Mm.
A couple had been hit by vehicles. A couple were shot by hunters. Yeah.
Were any of them ever have any age to them, or were they pretty young?
They're generally pretty young. If my memory serves me correctly, the oldest one was probably the one that was hit south of Utopia.
Yeah.
That was a pretty mature one.
And on getting back to that, the one bear that you said was older than you thought. What indicator did you use to say it was older?
So once we got the bear in hand, we actually had to move that one. We were able to haze it off of the property that night, but the next day it had gone to a local feed mill and it was feeding around the feed mill and had no fear of humans. And so a decision was made to move that bear to West Texas, to a largely unpopulated area, hoping that it could learn to make a living in the wild, right? And so, we get the bear in hand, we're able to look at their teeth and get a much more accurate age.
So it was tooth wear that you based that on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a funny story, but I follow David a lot of times and on a lot of things that he's doing, and there was one time he moved a bear out of Eagle Pass.
Oh yes, yeah.
And he's hauling this little critter up to another big open space, free space, uninhabited by humans in West Texas, and he puts his bear he's got the bear in a cage, but he puts it. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, in the front seat, right, with you?
So yes, the bear was in a dog kennel, a little dog kennel with a plastic floor, and I had hoped to get the bear to the property before it kind of came out of the chemical immobilization, and we didn't quite make it there.
And I'm communicating with him all the way, you know, calling, how you doing, how you making out, and I do that often, but basically, you know, talked to him a couple times, you know, and he said, well, I stopped and it got me a corn dog and a donut. I said, well, that's nutritious as all get out, you know. Anyhow, the next time I call him, you know, I said, how's it going? You know, and it's hilarious. I mean, you got to know David. Well, everything's going good, a little better for the bear. He ate my donut. And I said, well, okay, no problem there. You know, I laughed and no big deal. You're okay? Yeah, all good, man. He's fine. I think he's happy now because he ate my donut. Anyhow, a little bit later, I called him. I said, okay, how's it going? Because it's quite a ways out there where he was transporting this bear. And he goes, hey, I said, how's it going? He said, man, you know, it's going good, but this bear stuff is getting to be, you know, a little disconcerting. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I went to eat my corn dog and I got the corn dog, I guess, a little too close to the kennel that I had the bear in. Well, he got a hold of my corn dog. So my corn dog's going. I really haven't got to eat, and I still got a long way to go. I said, okay, whatever. And, you know, the next time I talked to him is not long after that, and he's getting back into the big, you know, into the Pecos region where telephone communication is not good.
Oh, yeah, I was going over the bridge.
And I'm talking to him, and all of a sudden it's, you know, it's done. You can't hear anything. No signal, no communication. I said, daggone, bear got him. So anyhow, you know, it was a lot of fun. We got the bear safely to its destination, but that's how we roll here. I mean, everything we do, we got to have some fun and enjoy it. We can't take everything too daggone serious. Although safety is always a very serious issue with us, no matter what we're doing, whether we're capturing deer and we're around helicopters and in our helicopters and things of that nature. So we do a lot of sophisticated and challengingly difficult things with our students, like Wyatt, and he'll probably tell you about some of them here. What do you think, Wyatt? You know, before David steals the whole audience, what do you like the best about the program?
Well, there's a better question would be what I don't like, because the list is, I'd say, a fair bit smaller. But all in all, I would say with what David was talking about earlier about being so busy, you don't know what day of the week it is. This is, if you really try at it, you can really get a little bit of training for that realistic side of things, and you know, managing time, things of that nature. But it's been very fulfilling overall. I'd say there's never been a lull in time. There's always been something different and new that we're doing. We're always going out and meeting new landowners and getting new stories. And I mean, I've already gotten several other opportunities just from going out to those volunteer projects. Like I worked with SCI recently and Trey volunteered out on dove hunt. And before you know it, now I'm getting scholarships from them. And,
That's
you know,
great.
I'm being out to volunteer at banquets and gala events and things of that nature. So if you know, it's really get in, get out, pay in, and pays out. And so I have nothing.
What's the funniest thing that's happened to you in the program?
Funnest thing would probably be going out with the Plant ID team. We went out to Alpine for the TXSRM competition, and that was just it was a
That's probably
huge
because there
eye-opener.
was free beer there, but I'm talking about the,
Well, it wasn't free.
the funniest thing that's happened to
He's
you.
pretty good at karaoke. You know, singing Green Day.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, that was a good time. The funnest thing going out. That one's kind of tough because I'd honestly probably have to get my journal out because there's been such a okay.
So you keep a journal.
I do keep a journal
That's
now, and
good.
that's something that I learned from
I
you
admire
guys.
that. That's one thing I always pushed here.
Do me a favor and never throw that away.
Oh, I don't plan on it. I might not be able to read it. But I'm
David and I had a friend that had journals, and they just stack up, you know, and he just chunks them all. Just one day, he just chunks them all.
Threw them away.
Threw them away. I mean, threw part of his life away. And this gentleman did a lot of neat stuff that maybe grandkids or, you know, whatever, someone would have loved to or would have cherished the opportunity to read it. But yeah, journal was a vital ingredient to the program as well. I really pushed that all the years that I taught. And I make sure that Dean and Daniel understand that because it's such a vital part of your career. You can learn a lot from keeping a journal. You could allow some other people to learn a little more about yourself if when the time comes. But it also helps you to refine and define things that you got to do that you wouldn't remember to do later. So it's a catalog of activities that pretty explicit and helps out. So I compliment you on keeping a journal because we challenge students to keep a journal every year. Not all of them keep a journal because it's a discipline. And without discipline, you will not keep a journal. I promise. It's like exercising.
It's easy to forget.
Yeah.
Especially when you're caught up doing one thing one day and a whole different thing the next day. But yeah, to get back to your question, if I had to say what was the most interesting thing we went out to do, it was probably going out to the East Foundation, out towards Kingsville in that area.
Big turf, big country.
Big country, big ranch, beautiful place, and just a huge research project they do. They bring our college out and several others out every year, and it's an excellent opportunity to shake hands, meet people, see what some of the other programs out there are like, and just to network. And as far as I've been able to gather, that's been one of the easiest ways to add value to yourself, to network with others.
Yeah, 100% agree about that. And that's actually one of the things I was going to bring up with David too. And so obviously our students get an opportunity to be out there with David spotlighting or whatever activity working with David, but there's other parks and wildlife biologists that are out there. And so having that opportunity to, students might not realize it, but there's a much bigger picture. The wildlife field is much, much smaller than people believe it to be. And so that networking opportunity is huge for our students.
So on that topic, Dean, Wyatt, you mentioned you developed an interest in wildlife early on, and then I'm curious, like what particular species did you like, and then maybe where are you headed after school? What's your career goal?
Well, originally, going as far back as high school, I had more of an interest in bugs. That was the first before I really knew I had, I guess a defined interest in wildlife was entomology back in 4-H and in high school. From there, working on the ranch, if I had to pick a favorite species, it would probably just be for looks alone, and it'd probably be something to the effect like a markhor or a Thompson's gazelle, maybe a dama if I'm in a weird mood.
Wow, exotic.
Going all out.
That was what we had. That was what I was used to dealing with, and I was very ignorant to not only the value, but the nature of how exotic it was to be around something like that. But coming here has been a good opportunity to see some of that, and just to see how really puts your life into perspective. If I had to describe future plans, I'm a little split right now. Part of it's going to be a financial deal, and part of it's just personal interest and culture. I'm going to either be going to Sul Ross in Alpine, Texas, or it's going to be A&M Kingsville. And I plan on going there and at least getting my bachelor's. If I could get my master's or my PhD financially, as far as all that goes, I would do it. But it's just, you never know. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, that's great. I've always said that the hardest part is figuring out your direction. Once you have the direction down, nothing left to do but to do it.
Yeah, most people don't have any clue what a goal is. And if you have a goal, like I tell all our students, if you have a goal, you can achieve it, And if you don't achieve it, that's fine. You elevate yourself another level anyhow, trying to get there. But once you have the objectives and a goal, you could rock and roll. But, getting back to the funniest thing, you take what was fun and all that and enjoyable. What was the funniest things happen to you? Because there's some neat stuff that happens to youngsters in this program.
And plenty of activities.
And cracks them up.
Well, the funniest thing is I'm going to have to throw David under the bus here.
Oh, no.
It was likely out at the student hunt last semester. We're all hanging around the campfire, exchanging stories, shooting it and all that good nonsense. And one of our other fellow students, a girl by the name of Evelyn, we were out there roasting marshmallows.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes to wagging on that stick and fires that thing right into the side of David.
It was on fire, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, air hot.
A flaming marshmallow.
I didn't know you were injured by a marshmallow.
I
That's
was.
a threat to
I
life.
played it off,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was burnt pretty good.
Oh,
3rd-degree
Man.
burns.
he acted like he was shot.
Mm.
It looked like a a marshmallow fiery comet going across the
In slow motion.
in slow motion.
And it was scary because I didn't know what to do. There's a flaming marshmallow stuck to me,
Oh,
and
I bet
I didn't know
burns.
whether I should
Where did
like
it hit you?
smash it or not touch it.
Yeah, where did it hit you?
Right in the belly. And so
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And that's another thing I like to bring up about David. You know, he's really a stout supporter of hunter education and participation. And those of us that are in the wildlife arena very long, like David and I have now been, we understand that hunter retention is critically low in our state. We lose approximately, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but last time I checked, we lose about 2% of our hunters annually.
sounds about right.
And basically, you know, David has a great desire in his heart to help youth to get that opportunity to hunt. Because most kids, youngsters that don't hunt, really may like to hunt. They just don't have the opportunity. And we live in a society where both parents, if they have both parents, they're not working, busy, preoccupied. They can't take their kids out and enjoy the outdoors because they can't afford to hunt themselves. And living in a private land state, like David mentioned, you know, it costs money normally. And so basically what David has done is introduced a lot of our students to hunting activities in the field. And now Dean and Daniel and David combined will take groups out every year. You guys want to talk anything about that? Because it's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, no, it's a great opportunity for our students, and we actually have quite a few students coming in the program that have never hunted before, and so we see that more and more now in the wildlife field, and hunting is a form of a conservation for wildlife species, and a lot of people don't realize that how much money is actually funded for conservation, habitat work, and so many other different means to preserve the wildlife. And so having that opportunity for our students is great. And we actually have a hunter's ed course. And as Bob said earlier, hunter's education is one of David's passion, and he leads that course with our students. And so it's a great opportunity to because it's much more than a hunter's ed course that we actually have, because everyone has to take hunter's education certain age. What is that, 1971, 72, somewhere around there. If you're old like Bob here, you know, you don't have to worry about hunter's education, but the younger guys have to take some.
No, you have to have hunter education even when you're an old fellow like myself, because you hunt out of state a lot. And so anytime you hunt out of state, you got to have hunter safety. But also want to mention that the hunts that they perform accelerates the percentage of that person buying a hunting license down the road. And a lot of people today have the awkward feeling that when you get a hunting license, you're just going out to devastate wildlife or kill wildlife. And that's not necessarily true. There's a lot, because it's a conservation type activity. That money that's generated by hunting license goes into the conservation of wildlife. Turn of the century, in the early 1900s, wildlife was virtually destroyed on the North American, or at least in the United States. So basically, hunters have paid that restoration program where we have an overabundance in many species today, simply because of hunting activity. So that's a very important point. And that's what David and Dean and Daniel thoroughly understand, because if you could augment the number of individuals entering the hunting arena, wildlife wins.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've seen, a lot of people are just looking for a chance to be able to hunt. You know, they need the access, they need the opportunity. And I think that's even a case with Wyatt. Because if you have that opportunity to hunt, have that chance to have that camaraderie and have it done right, there's kind of a different shift in your mindset. You know, your paradigm kind of may change on how you look at hunting. And so, can you talk about your experience of how you looked at hunting before and after our student hunt?
Yeah, I absolutely can. I definitely did, in fact, look at hunting very differently before all of this. I was of a lot of the more atypical mindset of the ignorant, non-hunter. I did see a lot of, you hear rumors about people, being, just sort of country bumpkin type, and you hear about, the fence cutters and the poachers and things of that nature, and so over time, you grow to associate one with the other. But actually doing it yourself and seeing it done in a controlled environment the way it was intended to be done is a whole different ballgame. It really shows you how much more thought has gone into it, how much more ethics are considered when you go out into hunting and things of that nature. But also just more of of how inclusive it can be, and that it's one of those things you just sort of have to see it and be in it and do it to know. Because I worked on a commercial hunting operation and I still looked at it ignorantly. And if I didn't have this opportunity, I'd probably still be none the wiser. And so it's just getting out and doing it, keep an open mind about it. Until you're in it, you never really can speak on it, I suppose, to summarize.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can all remember a mentor or mentors in our life that took us hunting and showed us the ropes and kind of introduced us to hunting
Right.
and gave us a good introduction to hunting. And I think that's largely what we're trying to do on that hunt is give youth that want to go hunting who haven't had the opportunity a good positive introduction to the sport.
Well, it
Yeah.
absolutely did that. And I'd like to take this opportunity again to thank y'all for it.
Yeah.
It was a
Oh,
really
you're
good
welcome,
thing for
Wyatt.
me.
Very welcome.
Just having that camaraderie is something that I didn't ever really have. Put it into honest words.
So, Dave, I asked you one question, and I've asked this before: is how do you feel about the wildlife program? How beneficial is it to our youth, those interested in wildlife or what have you? And what do you think are the big positives or negatives of the program?
I think this is the place to be for a young person who's interested in wildlife management, land stewardship. Um, this program did not exist when I was a young man going to college, but if it did, this is where I would be. Um, and then I might have gone and pursued that master's degree. But I do believe I would have started here because this gives you a strong introduction to what I would probably say is the private lands aspect of wildlife management um, that you probably don't get as much of in your 4-year programs. And then the hands-on aspect is just out of this world. You, students don't get this kind of experience at the big colleges.
And I'd agree with that. And I've done a good bit of asking other people, especially at these events like the East Foundation and plant competitions. There's a lot of the bigger schools where you don't get to do that until you're at least graduate school or beyond. And well, it's pretty unique in that aspect. And it's something that's greatly appreciated. And I think should be more advertised.
And David, the other thing I'd like to ask you, and thank you, Wyatt, for your compliments, but what maybe one of your highlights of your association with the program? I mean, like you've mentored students. I know you have. And I would assume that some of your students that have been around you, and you helped, assisted, and they benefited by your assistance. What were the? Can you have a highlight or
I
someone?
do. I really do. There's a family that have become friends to me, and the Garwoods.
Exactly right. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted to bring out.
Yeah, Brian
Yeah.
and Stella Garwood have a daughter named Katie. And I met Katie on a site visit. I was visiting a ranch, providing that technical guidance to the landowners. And she mentioned that she was looking to get into wildlife, maybe. What college should she go to? And I just kind of mentioned that there's a great program in Uvalde, right here, close to your ranch. Um, I think it would be a great place to go try out, get started in wildlife, see what you think. I didn't think it was that big of a conversation, just kind of mentioned it. Next thing I know, she's enrolled and she's moved over here, living at the ranch, going to college, and she's trying hard, making good grades, very involved, and it just snowballed. And she went on to get a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree, and now works with USDA Wildlife Services. And she's elevated her career in that department as well, and it just went really well.
Well,
I think she's kind of a jewel of somebody that I've mentored. you
Yeah,
know.
and I was hoping you'd bring that up because I'm really proud of Katie. But the Garwood family, Brian and
No
Stella, are
question.
big supporters of ours, and they're both on our advisory board, as is David, Wildlife Advisory Board. And but I was hoping you'd bring that up because that's kind of what everyone that ever is an instructor or teacher or whatever uh, yearns for, that opportunity to feel blessed enough to work with someone that actually adheres to your uh, to your voice, your help, and achieve something really neat. And that did happen to Katie, and it is just cool, and that's a soft spot in my heart is to benefit youth, and
Yes.
that's what we're all here for.
Well, I'm real proud of her. She did really well, and she was one of those students that went on the spotlight surveys. She banded doves for
Active
us
all the
Mhm.
time.
all the time. Yep,
Volunteering everything that she can.
she sure did. So we collect data off of deer harvested by hunters each year. We call it age and antler data. So we're collecting ages, we're collecting antler dimensions on these white-tailed deer, and we go into the deer processing coolers, and it's hard work. We have to move these deer around. We get bloody, dirty, and Katie would come and help me with that as well. I mean, she helped me with anything I had going on.
Nice.
She's a hard worker,
She
very
is.
aggressive young lady.
She's the hardest worker I can think of.
She's and
As
that's
far as the youth go.
in my experience over my first 1,200 students here, and
Wyatt's a hard worker
it
too.
was basically gals were as competitive working as the guys.
Yeah.
But there's some things that, gals shouldn't have to be doing really. But basically, I've had some that could do it all, and they did it all, and did it better. Sometimes it's not what you could do; it's how well you could do it. And the girls are more finicky, do it polished. But anyhow, that's pretty much what our program is all about. And guys like Wyatt, that's what sells our program. Our number one recruitment tool, if you want to call it a tool, is our students. They bring other students back because of what they see and liked about the program, and so it's worked very well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so and one other thing to highlight with Wyatt, in his first semester, he's also got an internship.
Oh yeah, yes sir. Yeah, yep. Got an internship out at the Trinity currently. I'm actually kind of working on two at the moment. I've got one with Trinity out in Batesville, combination property, Trinity and the LR Smith Ranch.
hmm
But yeah, that's my primary one. I'm going to a nice place, fantastic breeding fin program, and just all around, it's a very well ecologically managed property, very diverse with birds, plants, just the whole kit and caboodle.
And the other thing about these internships we have, they're with really high end people, qualified individuals. Like the Trinity got an exceptional good friend of mine and basically a heck of a biologist that works with youth. And so those are all benefits above and beyond the program. Those have taken a long time to recruit, these internships. They don't pop up overnight. It's been a long time in coming, but we have a lot of them now, or adequate number of them. Basically, probably more than we have students capable of handling the workload. That's
There-
probably our biggest concern.
You can very easily get caught up with too many and too many at once, and
Yeah.
there is some, but that's part of the teaching process, as far as I'm concerned. I think that's a good skill to have, knowing when to be able to, turn something down just because you're so encumbered with it. That's something I still need to work on myself.
Have
Well, it's
there
a
been
lifelong
any?
process. Go ahead, David.
I was going to ask you, Wyatt, have there been any really difficult challenges that you faced with your education here?
As
South
far as the
Texas?
education, no, I've always been blessed to all of that kind of sort of stuff as far as academia comes very natural. Where I tend to fail are interpersonal dynamics, time management skills, and just general stress management. And that's something that I've really been able to grind out a lot of here. It's if you just give someone free reign, they're gonna make enough mistakes that you don't have much choice but to learn. And that's a freedom that you don't really get to see most of the time. Especially if you're unproven in that aspect. So that's something those are the things that I've really been able to get more of a handle on, improve upon, and yeah. And there's support for every opportunity and every style of learning that I've encountered so far. It's not just a monochromatic, information take in or don't. They're able to work with you on everything you could be good or poor at. And sometimes it just gets down just having a soundboard, someone to vent to and to tell your story to and to see how it goes. But it's yeah, it's
Well, that's awesome. We
Yeah.
appreciate Wyatt, everything that all your hard work that you've given over the past couple of months, and we're looking forward to more great things for you in the program. And David, been a blessing to have you with us as part of the team, as we always like to say, and it's been a great opportunity for you to be with us and have us with the students.
Well, thank you for having me on the podcast again.
Yeah, so that pretty much wraps it up. And, I think I enjoyed being with y'all today, and hope to see you all real soon.
Sure, agreed. Thank
Yeah.
you again for having me very much.
Yeah.